Good afternoon, everybody. It is about to be 12 o'clock Eastern Time, and right now I'm going to talk about the ALDS. So the two series right now are between the Twins and the Yankees. So for the Yankees this year, it's been a very interesting year. They had a lot of injuries, really their whole team, and they still managed to win 103 games. You think about who was out. Giancarlo Stanton missed the entire year. Virtually the entire year. Played a little bit in April, a little bit in September, a little bit in June. Virtually missed the entire year. Aaron Judge missed about 2 months. Didi was on the DL. Luis Severino missed the entire year. Luis came back to kind of the middle of September. Dylan Betances virtually missed the entire year. So they had a lot of injuries to this team, yet they still managed to win 103 games, and they hit 306 home runs. And who would have ever thought they would have hit 300 home runs, and two, Giancarlo Stanton would hit only about 1% of them. That is amazing. Just to think about that. On the other side, for the Twins, they won 101 games, yet it is only their fourth best record in the American League, which is surprising, since I thought the Twins, to be honest, in that AL Central, I thought they're the only team in the AL Central besides the Indians, since I thought the Indians would run away with the division, would have any shot of really winning, of making it to the playoffs. I didn't think they had much of a shot at all. As it turns out, they hit 307 home runs. So two teams hit as many home runs as we've ever seen. And the Yankees did it being very short-handed offensively, despite not having anywhere close to their what you would have thought their lineup would have been come opening day, come spring training. They managed to do that. Incredible. And you want to talk about, earlier on, we talked about kind of series of starting pitching. This series, and when you get to the starting pitching matchups, if you're a fan of starting pitching, you're not going to have them. It's basically going to come down to whoever hits the most home runs probably wins. So game one, I'm just making complete guesses. It doesn't look like we'll even know until tomorrow morning. Jose Barrios, Jake Odorizzi, Randy Dubnyk, Martin Perez. So Barrios is obviously the Twins' best starting pitcher. Is he an ace? I don't know. If you put him in Washington, is clearly a 4-starter. Houston, clearly a 4-starter. Dodgers, clearly a 4-starter. It just depends where he is. Jake Odorizzi had a 2 ERA below 2 for much of the first half. Was dominant. Since cooled off, and Randy Dubnyk took over for Michael Pineda in 5 game starts in September. 20 innings, 2.21 ERA. And then Martin Perez at a 6.27 ERA in the second half. So that's your Twins rotation right there. And who's starting what game? I have no idea. For the Yankees, it's going to be James Paxton, who in September pitched 25 innings and had 30 strikeouts. He's their ace. And then Luis Severino missed virtually all the year with a shoulder and lat injury. Kind of kept taking longer and longer for him to come back. First we thought it'd be May, then we thought All-Star break, then we thought after the All-Star break, carried over deep into September. And really we don't know. And you talk about starting pitching, something for the Yankees that was really once a strength for them. You remember those 90s teams, starting pitching, while they won World Series. And now you go back to even 2009, CC. It was CC, Burnett, and Pettit. And then you remember CC 2012 against Baltimore, pitched 17 and 2/3 innings in that series, almost pitched 2 complete games. Those days are over. The Yankees are completely the opposite. They don't really have reliable starting pitching that can get them 6-7 innings. And granted, they do have a bullpen. I think they're trying to figure out. Okay, so we know our starting pitching can't get us there. How do we have a good bridge to get us to, at this point, I'd say Britton, Ottavino, somewhere in that order, and then Chapman. How do we get to that? And James Paxton might be able to go 6 innings. But then the rest of the rotation, think about Tanaka. You're talking about CC, Happ. They might do piggybacking, which the most famous example that I can think of is Houston in the World Series, where it was Charlie Morton starting and Lance McCullering finishing, or vice versa. They did that in Game 7. to beat the Yankees. Morton and then McCullers, and then World Series they did McCullers and then Morton. They usually started games 3 and 4, so they kind of finished each other's starts. The Yankees are not going to do that, since they have a better bullpen than what the Astros did that year too. That's the big reason why they do it. So they might do is, okay, one starter pitches 3 innings and maybe another starter pitches 3 innings. Okay, and there you go. There's your bullpen. That might happen. We don't know in terms of which games. Paxton game 1, game 2. It could be Severino. It could be Tanaka. It really doesn't matter. The Yankees don't have really reliable starting rotation to get them really that deep into the playoffs. They really don't have that right now at the moment. And really this series, it's really going to be about offense. Since I don't know what the starting rotations will look like. So the Twins, as I said earlier, hit 307 home runs, second in the AL in runs scored. So the notable performers for them: Nelson Cruz at age 39, 311, 41 home runs, 108 RBIs, 25 of them in the second half. Max Kepler is coming back from a shoulder injury, barely played in September, as 36 home runs. Miguel Sano, 34 in 105 games. Eddie Rosario, 32, 109. And Mitch Garver, their catcher, 31 home runs and only 311 at-bats. So that's all you need to know about the power. They'll hit a lot of home runs in this series. And on the other side, on the other side, you have the Yankees, who hit 306, their first in the AL in runs scored. Torres hit 38. Gary Sanchez hit 34 and just basically 400 at-bats. Judge 27 in 102 games. And so they have the home runs, they have the power. And then think about the guys that stepped up. Gio Urshela hit 314, 20 home runs. Coming into the year is basically from Cleveland, maybe a defensive replacement type guy. Went to the Yankees and all of a sudden became, overall, throughout the entire season, he might be their second best consistent hitter. And then Brett Gardner, who throughout his career is kind of a speed defensive guy, some power, hit 28 this year, late in his career. And then DJ LeMahieu, 327, 26 home runs, 100 RBIs. He's going to be an MVP finalist, probably right there with Trout and Bregman. And that's their lineup. Not to mention they have Edwin Encarnacion, who they got in a trade with the Mariners, one of the best power hitters of this decade, in their lineup as well. So again, this series, talking about the starting pitching, we have no idea who it's going to be, really. The Yankees are not going to have a traditional starting pitching rotation. They're going to be very bullpen reliant. It would be interesting to see how many more innings. I think at most a starter would go 6. But assuming a starter technically counts towards the bullpen, going 3 innings. So basically, it doesn't matter really if you're a starting pitcher for the Yankees right now. So their bullpens are going to count for more than 50% innings for sure. So really about this series, sure the Twins have a fairly good bullpen, but in terms of that, this series you may see 10 to 8 games or 11, maybe you see a 14 to 11 game. I don't know, but this series is going to be about offense. You're going to see a lot of home runs. Whoever hits the most home runs wins the series. Who happens to have base runners. I think if you had a single series for most home runs, I think this series, a division series record, and I'd have to look up the numbers to see what a combined series is for most home runs in a divisional series, but this series is going to break that record. There's going to be a lot of home runs. I wouldn't be shocked if there's 20 combined home runs when this series is over. It's really about who survives. Really a slugfest. Since whoever does, that'll be fascinating. So if I had to predict the series, I'm just going to say the Yankees win in 4. That's my prediction. So Rays Astros. So the Rays managed to beat the A's last night, and how they did it, let's talk about that first. So really what they did, so they started Charlie Morton. He went 5 innings. Sure, it looked like he got into trouble. The A's had opportunities to score runs and really get back into the game. That didn't happen. He did well at getting out of trouble. Pitched fairly well last night, but so kind of similar to what Max Scherzer was like in some ways. Except did not give up the home run balls, which is the difference. The Rays hit 4 home runs that led to all 5 of their runs. That was the difference. And one thing about the Rays do is you'll see a lot of mixing and matching. Last night, Yandy Diaz got 3 hits, including 2 home runs, was pinch run for by Joey Wendell. After Sean Manaea came out, which was in the 3rd inning, Matt Duffy went on to pinch hit by Brandon Lowe, since it was a left-handed batter facing right-handed pitcher. Michael Brocio played 3 positions throughout the game. I think played first, third, second, third, and first. So that's what they did. So they'll use platooning options. So Yandy Diaz, who's a right-handed hitter, who knows if we'll even play against Verlander, Cole, or Greinke. Who knows how many at-bats he gets in that series. Who knows what their lineups look like. It will look different. And in the bullpen. Bullpen works. Diego Castillo went 2 innings, struck out 3. Nick Anderson got 4 outs. All of them were strikeouts in the 7th, or in the 8th and 9th. Castillo 6 and 7. And then Emilio Pagan got a 2-out save. And then that was just a small part of their bullpen. I feel like they have so much more to offer. A good example of that is guys that did not pitch in the game. Oliver Drake, who had a 2.12 ERA in 17 September games. Andrew Ketterage, who is usually was an opener for him at times in September, and could be someone that starts Game 4. So for the Rays, and let's go back up to starting pitching. It has been announced already. We know who it's going to be. Game 1 is Glasnow versus Verlander. Game 2, Snell versus Cole. And Game 3 is Greinke versus Morton. So again, Glasnow was very effective really the first 6 weeks of the year. Got off to a great start. Had an arm injury, I think it was a shoulder. Basically missed until September. When he did come back in, it was in short outings. Same thing with Blake Snell, former Cy Young Award winner, won it last year. Had an elbow issue in July, missed about 2 months, came back, short outings as well. And then Charlie Morton's going in Game 5 on regular rest, or Game 3, which will be regular rest on Monday. So again, obviously the Astros have the advantage probably in every game, starting pitching wise. You could debate of whether who's better between Morton and Greinke. You can make an argument there. But again, they're going to be very... Again, we saw what we did. We've got a sample of what they did in the wild card game. We're going to see the same thing against Houston. The question is, does it work? Since they're going to be very bullpen dependent. I talked a lot about yesterday is Charlie Morton is probably the most you're going to see from any Rays starter. And it turned out he ended up going 5 innings. I think that's what they needed. Would they have asked him to go 6 or 7 if he was more efficient? Maybe. Maybe he could have gone as many as 6 or 7. And that could be especially crucial. Now, granted, they'll have a day of rest. But the bullpen's going to be used heavily since Glasnow and Snell are not going to be asked to go 6 or 7 innings. They just can't do it right now. They're not healthy enough. They might go 3 or 4, maybe even less than that, maybe just 2. And then you go straight on bullpen. That's who pitches for them. Yet, another matchup. Rays relievers with high strikeout rates. Well over 9 per inning, like 12, 13, whatever. How do they do against an Astros lineup that does not strike out at all? Last in the league in strikeouts once again. So that'll be interesting to see right there. So in terms of the Astros lineup, very interesting list. Yuli Gurriel, 298, 31 home runs, 140 RBIs. Is the best hitter in baseball in the second half. Jose Altuve hits 31 home runs, and he misses some time. Carlos Correa, 21 home runs in about a half a season. You know, throughout his career, he's had a hard time staying healthy. Remember last year in the playoffs, was playing with a back injury. He'll be playing hurt once again this October. Alex Bregman, who may Could very well win the MVP. 292, 41 home runs, 119 RBIs, but 119 walks is what stands out. Michael Brantley, 312, 22 home runs, 90 RBIs. Yordan Alvarez, in a half a season, is going to win the Rookie of the Year. 313, 27 home runs, 78 RBIs in half a season. And George Springer missed about a month worth of time. Still, 292, 39 home runs, 96 RBIs. That is the Astros lineup. So that counting that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hitters in their lineup right there. Those are their top 7 hitters. And they're either A, hitting close to or right around 300. They're either hitting 30 plus home runs, driving in runs. Great lineup. You have Justin Verlander and Garrett Cole. Verlander had a 320 wins and 300 strikeout season, 250 ERA. Garrett Cole, 20 wins, 326 strikeouts, 251 ERA. And Greinke ended up having 18 wins on the year, 8-1, 62 innings, 302 ERA with the Astros. So that is your 1, 2, 3 right there. So in terms of starting pitching, head on. Like I talked about that at length in the last episode. This is polar opposites. This is great starting pitching against basically a bullpen. Basically against a bullpen other than Charlie Morton, since Snell and Glasnow are not ready to have full starts. Since if they were, this could be a very interesting matchup. And if they're healthy, you could make an argument of the Rays of being potential World Series contenders. But as of right now, they have to get by Houston. And there's going to be mixing and matching, for sure. Now, Game 4 of who starts, the Rays. Since, again, Game 4, it would have been on 4 short rest. There's no way in the world you're starting Glasnow or Snell on short rest. Unless they go limited innings, maybe then you do that. With Charlie Morton getting the ball in Game 3, we don't know. We have no idea who's going to start in Game 4. It may be an opener. You may do a full-on opener where you have a reliever basically start. And they're technically not quite doing an opener, but they're basically doing short outings. So, Game 3, maybe, just maybe, you see someone like Charlie Morton go 6 or 7 innings. But other than that, heavy bullpen usage. It's going to be like that really throughout the series of heavy bullpen usage. The Astros are going to be relying on starting pitching. Game 4 for the Astros, completely unknown. Wade Miley has a 16.88 ERA in September. He had a stretch in 11 innings, 21 earned runs, and 2 starts. He had nothing, allowed 12 runs and only got 1 out. Just couldn't figure anything out in September. So do you start him? And again, how the Rays win the series? Well, maybe in Game 1, Verlander's prone to giving up home runs, as dominant as he's been, he's as great as he's ever been. Yet baseballs are flying out of the park this year. Verlander's giving up a lot of home runs. So maybe the Rays, something similar that happens in the wild card game. They had a home run here, they had a home run there. They have a 2-0 lead, 2-1 lead, or whatever. Rays bullpen's lights out. They steal Game 1. They managed to steal Game 1, right? And then all of a sudden, you have Morton in Game 3 back in Tampa. This could get interesting. This could get very interesting. Now, granted, the Astros are heavy favorites. And the Astros will probably win in 3. I think that's what many people are saying, Astros in 3. The Rays just don't quite have enough to do it since they have a much better lineup. Much better starting and pitching rotation. The Rays have the best bullpen of any team in the playoffs. So we know the Rays have the bullpen. But if that Houston lineup just gets them and dominates, it's again, they last year against Cleveland, they went up against Cleveland. They had very good starting pitching. Yet they had a kind of a shaky bullpen. But still, they swept the Indians in 3 games. Game 1 was kind of close. They kind of put it on in the middle innings. Game 2, it was close. The Indians might have been able to win that game. And then Game 3, at some point, they just decided to break it open and just get the series over with last year. That was a beatdown. So now, all of a sudden, it is advantage Astros in that category. And it'll be interesting. Now, this Rays team can win. They are capable of it if they mix and match right. Maybe it works. They make the right bullpen decisions. But when you're that bullpen dependent, there's always the opportunity that one guy doesn't have it, gives up 2 runs. That can be the difference. That can alter your plans. That can really affect you when you're a bullpen. So I think their bullpen pretty much needs to be perfect. And it's going to be very hard to score runs against, say, Verlander and Cole. That's why the Astros are heavy favorites. That is why, I look through so many different media outlets. In me, myself, I have the Astros winning the World Series. Yet, many people have the Astros winning the World Series. They're by far the most common pick. And this Tampa team, despite winning 96 games, or 96 games, pardon me, and advancing this deep and winning the wild card game. They are huge underdogs. And if what they do somehow works, they somehow beat the Astros, I think they'll be lucky if they can take it to game 4 in Tampa. And then, wait a minute, it's game 4. They're down 2-1. Maybe, just maybe, they can force a game 5. Anything can happen. But of course, they can't worry about a game 5. I don't see how the Rays have enough strength to win 3 games. If they do, that would be a great upset. But it's pretty much unanimous picking the Astros. I'm just going to say Astros in 3. That's the way I see it. Since game 1, Verlander, I think, is going to be dominant. Game 2, Cole's going to be dominant. We know how great they've been this year. And you can always... And it might be a low-scoring series, but I just think the Astros win the series. It may be a low-scoring series, but the Astros win the series. And the Astros may have a game where they score a lot of runs. I mean, we don't know that, but that's just the way it looks right now. It's going to be a sweep, and the Astros will probably once again be heavy favorites in the ALCS. Whether they play the Twins or the Yankees, they're going to be heavy favorites. And whoever they play in the World Series, even if the Dodgers, will still be favorites then. But Astros in 3. So ALCS, Astros versus Yankees, once again, for a fight of heavyweights. That's going to be interesting. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time in terms of future videos. Normally I try to do a video in the middle of the series. I kind of do a video kind of on, maybe on early Sunday morning or sometime Sunday afternoon, but I won't be able to this year. I have things to do on so I won't be able to put out another video maybe until next Monday or even Tuesday, but it'll be interesting to see what happens this weekend in the playoffs. It's going to be fun, and we'll see you next time.